You guys, the Dress to Impress fandom is coming for ChatDoll, and in my opinion, this is so silly, but we're gonna go ahead and read a Reddit thread today that has to do with some people's thoughts on ChatDoll and why I don't necessarily agree with them, or maybe some ideas that I do agree with. So, with that in mind, before we get started, I do always have to clarify this. When you post something online publicly on a public platform, there is no expectation of privacy. And also, as a journalistic or commentary YouTuber, I'm allowed to take comments from the internet that are posted publicly and use them in a transformative way. That's called fair use. You don't need permission for that. So, with that in mind, I do, of course, blur everybody's usernames, especially when it is a post like this that is kind of negative, because nobody needs to get harassed for having their opinion. And this is labeled as a discussion on the Dress to Impress Reddit thread. Now, before we get started, thank you so much everybody who's been subscribing and hyping my videos. It really helps, and if you guys could do that, I would really appreciate it. So let's get right into this comment and then the comments that follow it, because guys, this is pretty spicy. It reads, ChatDoll is out and it's not replacing Dress to Impress. ChatDoll has no gameplay. It's just free play with 1/5 the amount of items and lower item quality. The ability to upload UGC is locked behind a Game Pass, so I struggle to even call it a catalog game, which, side note, this was posted 14 days ago, and as of recently, the owners obviously listened to feedback and now people can actually upload UGC. Keep that in mind. And they go on to say, the one benefit is that you can move most of the items with their item adjustment. Regardless, they finish by saying, they obviously advertise this to Dress to Impress players with influencers, pretending like this would replace Dress to Impress, which is why I'm disappointed and annoyed with how much of a nothing burger it is. There's no reason you'll enjoy ChatDoll if you like Dress to Impress. Which, side note, I don't understand. Anytime a new game comes out and a developer's like, hey guys, I'm making this new game, I'm super proud of it, the comments are always like, oh my god, this game is just like this other game. And people are like freaking out. And I understand people obviously are wanting to defend their original game or the game that they really like, and I don't think there's an issue with that, but you don't have to bring down other developers or other games, especially when they're brand new, to make your game look better. Like, you can say you like your game without saying this game sucks. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like not nice. It's like saying, oh my god, Jessica's so pretty, but Stephanie's ugly. You know what I mean? Like, it's just weird. Like, why do you gotta do that? You're allowed to have your opinion, but it's like, it just seems bizarre to me to be so negative about it. I don't know. This person writes, I can see people who free play Dress to Impress enjoying this game. That's if they're on a computer and can work their way around the customization, because it's unnecessarily confusing trying to customize your character the way you want on mobile. Every time I get hyped for a game that's kind of in the same genre as Dress to Impress, I get disappointed. Like, I'm not sure what you're supposed to even do in the game. Why are there now a few games that have come out recently with no real gameplay other than the dressing up element? Which, side note, I think the influx of dress-up games is due to how popular that niche has been on Roblox, so obviously, game developers looking at the market are going to make dress-up games when that's what's performing well. However, I do think it's important to note that this person does have a valid comment. If this is difficult to play on mobile, I think it's definitely something that maybe could be looked into. I don't know if they've maybe submitted a support ticket or can ask someone who works on the dev team, hey, I'm having issues on mobile, and explaining exactly the issues they're having, and that could be helpful for other players who play on mobile. So I think sharing that feedback in a respectful manner would be really valuable, and I think that's a really valid point, because personally, I don't typically play on mobile, so I've never played ChatDoll on my iPad, and maybe it doesn't work very well, I don't know. This person writes, to be honest, the pass costs like 800 to 2,000 plus, which is pointless. And this person says, Jesus Christ. Someone writes, yeah, if I don't remember wrong, the game beta is out, or VIP will cost around 2,222 Robux. But for latest info, they seems to reduce the price more lower, I guess. And this person says, yes, can you believe? Which I'm going to put prices of stuff on the screen compared to what is said here, because I know the prices have been adjusted slightly since the release. So I will put them on the screen, but I don't think it's that expensive. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see when I put it on the screen when I'm editing this. This person writes, I think it has potential, but it's still in very early stages and definitely not replacing Dress to Impress. I heard this and Monsterverse hyped up. I like the idea of Monsterverse, but not enough to join. Whilst ChatDoll reminds me of games and experiences I had online as a kid, it's rubbish on mobile currently, really janky, and the game passes are too high. Which, again, getting that mobile feedback for a second time would tell me that there's probably an issue with compatibility on an iPad or iPhone, so hopefully that could be resolved. But regardless, again, why do people always bring in smaller games, Monsterverse, ChatDoll, and compare them to massive corporations or like massive companies, which you could say, oh my god, it's not a company. It definitely is. It definitely is. If they have a toy line, they're a company, babe. And so you're comparing these brand new games that came out less than a year ago to these games, which, to be fair, Dressed Impress is relatively newer, like it hasn't been around nearly as long as Royal High. However, these games now have full dev teams, they have a big community base behind them, they're making a ton of money, which they can then reinvest into the game. It's important to note that in situations like Monsterverse and ChatDoll, their game development is entirely based on external funding, so supporters, and them, compensating or paying other people. And on top of that, a lot of the game developers and people who work on the game have been working on these games, which I know from Monsterverse, for cheaper, I guess, than their typical rates because they believe in the project. And so a lot of weight falls on the people who own the game to make everything work and to shell out their own hard-earned money to try and develop a game. So I think it's not really fair to compare, again, Monsterverse to Royal High or ChatDoll to Dressed Impress, because they're just at two completely different stages of their development journey. And it's just not a fair comparison. It's like comparing a 5-year-old runner to, Usain Bolt or something. Like, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? This person writes, all the hype build up from creators for this, honestly defo a more stylistic and fashion-centered version of catalog avatar, but make it paid. Also, W2F is up with the legs when I pose, which I have noticed. I've had some glitches with some tights and stuff like that too, but again, this is like the initial release. This was posted like 14 days ago. The game has just released. I feel like some people are being hypercritical. I know, like, obviously you don't want bugs in a game, and I understand the backlash with, like, some of the pricing and stuff like that. I think that's why it was addressed and adjusted. However, to expect the very first version of a game to be flawless without any bugs, I think is, like, not realistic at all. I can understand people's frustration, but again, a lot of people are using the comparison, oh, well, Dressed Impress doesn't do this. Well, babe, Dressed Impress is, like, a very valuable company with, like, a lot of people working, so it's not quite the same. But regardless, this person said they already are hyping it up way more than necessary. When showing us previews, I didn't actually understand the gameplay at all. It's just customization with Y2K vibes to it. CAC, I don't know what that means. Catalog avatar creator, maybe, I think. This person writes, it's funny how their influencers promoted the game with ethereal UGC abused outfits just to make the Game Pass cost Robux and only 1,000 players when it was released. Yeah, this game will flop quicker than Monsterverse, which again, I feel like these are like the same group of people who are just constantly crapping on any game that enters the Roblox development space. Like, do you ever get tired of being so miserable sometimes, guys? Like, come on now. You're allowed to have, negative criticism, but like, this isn't even criticism. It's like, you suck. The game barely had anybody during the release. They're gonna flop. Can we say, oh, I feel like maybe there isn't like a lot of items. That's how I think they could fix it. Like, that's criticism. Sitting here being like, the game's gonna die. You're doom posting and you're making everybody depressed. Please stop. No, I'm just teasing. This person says it was a Game Pass when the influencers promoted it too. They just never disclosed that, which isn't required of them since most aren't official influencers, just TikTokers with early access for buying the Ko-fi. They're supposed to show what you can do with the full game. Plus, I think 1,000 players thing is because when it officially dropped, it wasn't loading everyone in it, and it was super buggy, again, to be expected as it's in beta/demo release, which I have to say, this person kind of like, low-key, they worded that very well. Totally valid. Oh, someone is comparing this stuff to genitals. Interesting. I don't know about that one. And they're talking basically about the prices, and this person said the influencers just hyped it up, just like Monsterverse. It's unfinished and buggy game, which for now has no potential. And this person responds, Monsterverse isn't even finished, they're still in beta, and the full game isn't even out yet. They said they'll make weekly updates, adding new features until the game is fully completed. You can still roleplay playing the dress-up minigame, farm a rich catalog. ChatDoll, on the other hand, is a bit questionable since it was marketed as a dress-up game that could have potential rival for Dressed Impress, but I don't think it's even as close. Dressed Impress is really something else, not like Monsterverse with a few more big updates. It could even rival with Royal High. ChatDoll is not mobile friendly for sure. I couldn't even get in the game. Monsterverse, on the other hand, fixed their mobile player problem in less than 12 hours. Which, again, side note, I feel like why are we pinning massive games and then also smaller games against each other? Again, this game was just released. I'm not going to sit here like a broken record because I am in the influencer server. However, I am not compensated in any way, shape, or form so far from doing anything in the influencer server, making any of these videos. Like, and that's not what I want. I want to be very clear with that because obviously I follow the Federal Trade Commission and I'm not a dirty little liar. But regardless, I think it's very bizarre that people are just like so quick to try and dogpile and take somebody down. Like, I feel like this should be a space where people can uplift other people. And I understand people sometimes get the impression that I'm so negative and I bring others down because I make videos being critical of things, but that's because I don't want to just sit here and be an echo chamber. If you can't have constructive criticism or dialogue or discourse with other people, you're never going to learn or achieve anything. It's just like an echo chamber where nothing happens. Everyone's like, la, 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 everything's fine, there's no problems, which obviously isn't the kind of content I want to contribute to. And I also don't want to be overly negative either, which is why I try to make these videos, defending people people when I feel like the hate is wrongfully, directed at somebody. But regardless, I do understand, obviously, people will be upset if the game isn't super optimized for mobile usage, and so I do hope that can be fixed in the future. However, I feel like comparing a really small game that has just launched to massive other games and stuff like that I just think it's kind of unfair. I think it's an unfair comparison to make. It's like comparing a 5-year-old child to an Olympian. It just, the Olympians so far ahead. They have so many more resources, so much more access to utilities, to different developers, to funding, stuff like that, which doesn't mean that they don't deserve the hype. Obviously they do. They spend a lot of time, like Dressed to Impress grew their game from the ground up, and that is nothing against them. However, again, comparing this game that just started to Dressed to Impress, it's just not fair. And if influencers made videos comparing it to Dressed to Impress, I think that was more of like a hook, kind of. Like, I don't know exactly what videos people are talking about, but I've seen people saying, oh, this game's kind of like Dressed to Impress. And it's meant to be like a hook because you recognize Dressed to Impress, so then you'll watch the video. And at least from what I saw, I don't think any influencers were saying this is going to completely replace Dressed to Impress. I don't think that was ever like the narrative that was put out there. Maybe some influencers were, I don't know. From the content I've watched, I've never seen anything like that. But regardless, I think it is unfair to paint a game as a quote replacement or a flop right from the get-go. A game does not need to be a replacement for another game in this phase. Two games can coexist, just like Monster vs. Real High. The games can coexist. There does not need to be this weird fighting for player bases and like games acting like they own players. Like, this is very bizarre to me. Regardless, let's try to be empathetic to the fact that a game has just released, and obviously the developers for this game have been taking community feedback into consideration with adjusting their prices and stuff like that. So with that in mind, thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!